It's a real pleasure for me to introduce our speaker this morning. So our speaker hails from Los Angeles, California. For the past 2 decades, Dr. Danny Brassell has served as an educational advisor to students ranging from preschoolers to rocket scientists. While he has held numerous titles and worked with leaders from a variety of fields and disciplines, Danny has always considered himself first and foremost a teacher. His mission is to bring joy back into education and the workplace. Danny's simple but powerful student engagement strategies have been heralded by parents and educators worldwide. Danny helps audiences learn to transform reluctant and struggling learners into passionate, lifelong learners. Danny is a recognized authority on leadership development, reading, motivation, and communication skills. Last year alone, he spoke to over 100 different audiences worldwide in education, business, and government. His 15 best-selling books include Read, Lead, and Succeed. So thank you for attending his talk today. He's providing all attendees a complimentary e-copy of the book. Most importantly, he's a loving husband and proud father of 3 children. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Danny Brassell.
Thank you, Simon. How's everybody doing today? You need to know a couple of things about me. First of all, I'm a morning person. I've been up since 4. Second of all, I'm naturally hyperactive. When I was a kid, it was called curiosity. Nowadays, they call it attention deficit disorder. So before anything, can we thank Etta and her team for inviting all of us here today? They put a lot of work into today's conference. It's a beautiful facility. So I always like to get to know who everybody is in the room. So everybody turn to an attractive person beside you right now. And if you see a person look at you and look away, you ain't looking so hot this morning. Why don't you say hi to a couple of strangers? Take about 8 seconds to do that. Go. We are going to play a game. This game requires that you get a partner. I will give you 5 seconds to get a partner. Go. And I will give you 4 seconds to determine who is partner A and who is partner B. Go. Partner A, stand up. Partner A, I would like you to look down at partner B, and for the next 20 seconds, please tell partner B what makes you so awesome. Go. Stop. Okay, partner B, I need you to look up at partner A and repeat after me. You're amazing. Now repeat after me. I want to be just like you someday. Very good. Partner A, you may sit down. Partner B, stand up. Partner B, I would like you to look down at partner A. And for the next 20 seconds, please tell partner A what makes you so awesome. Go. Stop. All right, partner A, I need you to look up at partner B and repeat after me. What a stud! Now repeat after me. I'm not worthy. Very good. Everybody sit down and give yourselves a big hand. I always say this, no matter what you do in life, you are always a teacher and a role model. So now you're wondering, who is this guy? Well, like Simon told you, my name is Danny Brassell, and I'm on a mission to bring joy back into education. I've actually taught all age levels, from preschoolers all the way up to rocket scientists. I can make that claim because I used to teach English as a second language to engineering students at the University of Southern California. I became a teacher because of the movie Stand and Deliver. How many of you ever saw the movie Stand and Deliver? If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's a true story of Jaime Escalante going to Garfield High School in East Los Angeles to teach AP Calculus. So I said, I'm going to be Jaime Escalante. So I was originally hired to teach 12th grade social studies in Compton, California. It's a community in South Central Los Angeles. And they switched me from working with high school students to middle school students to upper elementary to lower elementary to pretty soon, instead of preparing students for college, I was coming home with snot marks all over my pants every single day. The first thing I learned is what works with a 12th grader does not necessarily work with a kindergartner. But what works with a kindergartner works with all age levels. The second thing I learned was perseverance. How many of you have ever been in a negative environment surrounded by negative people telling you what you couldn't do all the time? I mean, one of my old principals, Mrs. Lucifer, she used to fly into my classroom on her broomstick with her permascal and her forbidding clipboard, and she used to write me up for everything she thought I was doing wrong. She was killing me. But I had a guardian angel. I was blessed. I taught at a school where I was the only man at my school. I was the only white person at my school. I taught with predominantly elderly African-American women from the South who all had been teaching for at least 20 years. Well, my mentor was Mrs. Turner. Mrs. Turner had been teaching for 40 years. Mrs. Turner was from Alabama. She believed in two things, discipline and the Bible. Whenever her little ones got out of line, she started reading aloud Revelations to them. And it was Mrs. Turner who took me under her wing, and she taught me a system on how to bring joy into learning every single day. And so hopefully during our limited time together this morning, I'll be able to give you some of her tips that she always gave me. So by the end of this presentation, I'm going to make the case for why we need to get more engaged in learning. First of all, we're going to talk about cognitive engagement, how to engage your mind. We're going to talk about social engagement, how to engage with others. And finally, we're going to talk about emotional engagement, and that's how to work the heart. You put those all together, it comes up with the acronym CASE, because you can't be an educator without coming up with a clever acronym. So, are you excited for today? Get pumped. And if you do me a favor, take out your cell phones and turn them on. I think we live in an electronic age, and it was actually a 5-year-old who taught me how to use Twitter. And if Twitter's used the right way, it can be a very positive teaching tool. He taught me that when you come up with, I used to call these things number signs, but he calls it a hashtag. So my hashtag is Danny Speaks. If there's anything I'm talking about today that resonates with you, just tweet out with the hashtag Danny Speaks, and what it's basically doing is it's creating a page of notes for you to talk about what you learned during the day. It's also a great way to communicate with people on different ends of the building. And also, like Simon told you, I'm giving all of you a complimentary electronic copy of my book, Read, Lead, and Succeed. If you point your phone, the camera feature towards the QR code, you can actually download it right now. This is a book. I wrote it for a principal who didn't know how to engage his faculty. So I said, okay, I'll write you a book. And so every week I give you a concept, an inspirational quote, an inspirational story, a book recommendation on a book all you should read, but you're probably too lazy. So I also give you a children's picture book recommendation that demonstrates the same concept that you can read in 5 minutes. You know, I'm on a mission to really bring the joy back in education, and one of the ways I'm doing that is I'm getting people to be readers. There's really no such thing as fake news. There's only poor readers that are only relying on one source of information. You need to become a critical thinker if you're going to be a really good citizen. And if you ever need anything, you can always email me via my website, DannyBrassell.com. My last name's really easy to remember, folks. It's spelled like Brassell. No, I never took any grief over that as a student. All right. Are you ready? All right, hang on. So we'll start with some cognitive engagement ideas. So what do teachers and students want to accomplish? Lewis Carroll said, if you don't know where you're going, any road will do. So I have 5 keys to setting goals that I used to do with my students. You got to do the motions because the brain likes movement. So everybody, step 1, everybody take action. Excellent participation. Number 2, smell adversity. Excellent. Number 3, listen. Number 4, chew slowly. And number 5 is to visualize success. Good. You got to think of yourselves like the mouse. You got to have focus and determination when you're setting your goals. So the first step is to take action. A strong effort will take you far. How many of you are writing down your goals? People that write down goals are much more likely to accomplish their goals than people who are not writing their goals. Here, raise your hand if you're lazy. Wow, those of you not raising your hands, you're really lazy. All right. You have to remember, it's the little things that matter. There's a ripple effect to everything that you do. Motivation's what gets you started, but it's habit that keeps you going. That's the first step. The second step is to smell adversity. Figure out what are the obstacles that are in front of you every single day. Wayne Gretzky said, you miss 100% of the shots you never take. You got to avoid the naysayers, folks. What do they look like? They look like this. I believe one bad apple does spoil the bunch. I used to teach with a woman, Miss Washington. She was sick one day. I'm like, Miss Washington, how long have you been sick? And she said, in 3 more weeks, it'll be a month. This is the single most negative person I've ever met in my life. And you got to watch it, folks. Those people are out there. You know, Harry Warner in 1927 said, who the heck wants to hear actors talk? 2 years later, The Jazz Singer was the first talking motion picture, changed movies forever. At his acceptance speech for the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1923, Robert Millikan famously said, there's no likelihood man can ever tap the power of the atom. Less than 20 years later, we had atomic energy. One of my favorite quotes of all time came courtesy of Charles Duell. He was the head of the U.S. Patent Office. In 1899, he famously said, everything that can be invented has been invented. You got to surround yourself with positives, folks. Listen to the happy radio station every single day. True story. My first day as a teacher, as I pulled into the parking lot at the school, the very last song on the radio was Pink Floyd's The Wall. We don't need no education. Freaked me out. From that day forward, it was Christian rock every single day. Okay, the third thing you need to do is you need to listen, because there's all kinds of allies around you if you pay attention. Are you pondering every move around you? Here, raise your hand if you talk to yourself. Now, those of you not raising your hands right now are, do I talk to myself? I don't think so. Fourth, you got to choose slowly, because there's very few shortcuts in life. You need to remember Rome wasn't built in a day. I used to always tell my students, it's going to take you time to make the Guinness Book of World Records if you want to grow the longest fingernails or the longest mustache. And finally, you got to visualize success. You got to see yourself as successful. Everybody in here, you need to think big. Anita Roddick, the founder of the Body Shop, said, if you think you're too small to have an impact, try going to bed with a mosquito. I want you all thinking you're going to infinity and beyond. Ted Turner said a leader is someone who creates infectious enthusiasm. So let's see if you create infectious enthusiasm. We're going to do a study. Harvard did a study. By the way, whenever I cite research, I always say Harvard did the study. It sounds much more legitimate that way. So Harvard did a study. They said, so here it is. The following photo has 2 identical dolphins in it. It was used in a case study on the importance of engagement at St. Mary's Hospital. That's in Boston. Now, look at both dolphins jumping out of the water. The dolphins are identical, but a closely monitored scientific study revealed that in spite of the fact that the dolphins are identical, a highly engaged leader could find actual differences in the 2 dolphins. Now, if there are many differences found between both dolphins, it means that leader is on the brink of achieving leadership greatness. So I need you to look very carefully at the photograph right now. Man, when you all were walking in, I could see that there's a lot of successful leaders in this room. Everybody give yourselves a big hand. So you got to remember, to succeed, it takes baby steps. You need to learn how to enjoy the journey. Any of you ever see the movie Shawshank Redemption? If you have TNT, you probably see it 20 times a day. One of my favorite movies of all time, but there's a great scene where Andy and Red are talking, and Andy looks at Red and he says, you know what, you can get busy living or you can get busy dying. I see so many people walking around that have decided to get busy dying every single day. Folks, I implore you, get busy living. Put that smile on your face every day. Stare adversity right in the face and remove all the obstacles. Remember, motivation and productivity skyrocket when students reach their goals. So the first condition that we have to think about when we're thinking about cognitive engagement is what are we doing to support our own and student learning goals. Now, raise your hand if there are a variety of different students in your class. Raise your hand if you utilize a number of different teaching strategies to learn. Raise your hand if you have a hand. It's early. I got to see who's awake. Everybody repeat after me. I think, therefore I am. Descartes said that. Repeat after me. I think I will succeed, therefore I can. We said that just now. Look at the person to your left, and the person to your right, and the person behind you, and the person in front of you. Everybody repeat after me. We're all different. We can all learn something from each other. Wave your arms widely if you choose to learn from others. Compliment the attractive people beside you and tell them how happy you are to be here right now. Marilyn Hughes once said, to learn a particular concept, some children need days, some 10 minutes. But the typical lockstep school schedule ignores this fundamental fact. I mean, I've learned this as a teacher. You know, students are a lot like automobiles. They all require their own type of gasoline. And some students are a little bit higher octane than other students. You have to understand, folks, motivation means different things to different people. I mean, maybe your motivation is to impress the ladies. Maybe your motivation is to save Middle Earth. Maybe your motivation is to be the greatest to ever play the game. Or maybe, just maybe, your motivation is something I read in a newspaper ad once. Free ice scraper with every colonoscopy. Still the single most bizarre ad I've ever read in my life. I'm always interested in what motivates people, so I like to read a lot of motivational theory textbooks because I don't have much of a social life. And of all the motivational theories I've ever come across, my favorite was proposed by this dude. His name was Abraham Maslow. And Maslow was interested in what makes successful people successful. So to answer the question, he only studied successful people. He studied people like Albert Einstein, people like Frederick Douglass, people like Eleanor Roosevelt and Helen Keller, and of course the cast of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. No. He would never study people like this because he found in his research, when you surround yourself with people with a negative philosophy, you start to adopt that exact same philosophy. Harvard's actually done studies on this. I don't know if you know this, but over 70% of medical students in their third year of residence start to develop symptoms of the diseases that they are studying. We find it in other professions too. Of all professionals, do you know who the worst spellers are? It's teachers. Why? Because teachers see more spelling mistakes on a daily basis than the general population. By the way, any of you interested in becoming better spellers? Let me say that another way. Any of you interested in becoming better spellers? Excellent. So my friend Rich Allen, who's a wonderful presenter, he had students that were testing below the 20th percentile on their spelling test. And so what he did is he relabeled the tiles of his classroom floor with the letters of the alphabet. After the kids would spell the word on paper, he then had them hop spell the word. The simple act of the movement increased all the test scores above the 80th percentile. You don't learn sitting down. You need to get off your butt throughout the day. So everybody stand up right now. I will give you 18 seconds to get a partner, introduce yourself, and learn how to spell your partner's first name. Your 18 seconds begins now. I would like you to write your partner's name in the air. You can print it, you can do cursive, uppercase, lowercase, whatever turns you on. Next, I want you to imagine a keyboard on the floor, and with your right foot, I want you to type out your partner's first name. Finally, I want you to channel your inner village person. I want you to spell out your partner's name with your body, YMCA style, right now. What is your partner's name? Shout it out. Give that person a high five right now. You may sit down. The single most important word in most people's vocabulary is the sound of their name. Teachers, it's critical we get to know the correct pronunciations of all of our students' names, their parents, our colleagues, students, everybody we're around. We need to get to know their names. We have one job in life and one job only. That's to make everybody around us feel important. So the second condition we need to consider, especially as educators, is what are we doing to empower our students every single day? That leads to the third condition, which is to encourage competence. Everything that we do in life is planting seeds. General Patton said, never tell people how to do things. Tell them what to do and let them surprise you with their ingenuity. You know, there's always lots of different ways to do things. I mean, this is going to date me. When I first became an elementary school teacher, the movie The Lion King had just come out. And so every single day, my students and I would form a circle of life, is what we called it, and we would sing songs every single day. People always ask me, Danny, why do you sing so many songs with students? Well, it's a Harvard medical fact. The human brain has the ability to erase information. For example, who was the 18th president of the United States? How many bones are in the human body? Some of you got that one. How many members of Congress are there? Too many, I will accept that answer. Good. Yes. For those of you that need to know, Ulysses S. Grant was the 18th president of the United States. There's 206 bones in the human body. There's 535 voting members of Congress, 435 in the House, 100 in the Senate. Don't worry about that. Let's see if you can complete any of these. In 1492, to all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese. Oh, see, I'm dating myself. The adults get it and the kids don't. Da-da-da-da. 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 Conjunction, junction. Yeah, someday you'll have Alzheimer's disease. You won't remember the names of your own children. But you'll remember jingles you learned when you were 5 years old. I mean, that's all teachers had to do to teach kids the alphabet. Just put it to the beat of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Would you like some more? Yeah. Everybody stand up. We're going to learn the continents right now. Everybody repeat after me and do the gestures. There are seven. There are seven continents. Continents. Europe, Asia, Africa. North and South America. Antarctica. Australia. Now, if you teach little ones, first grade teachers, you better set some ground rules, else you get little boys that are Mighty Morphin Power Rangers going, Europe, Asia, Africa. We're pointing to where they are in our map of the world. This next one got me in trouble because I did it to the beat of a Bible camp song. So this is to teach the kids the seasons of the year. I'll model it and then we'll do it together. This one goes, spring, summer, autumn, and winter, winter, spring, summer, autumn, and winter, winter, spring and summer. Autumn and winter are the seasons of the year. We can do it in Spanish too. It goes, primavera, verano, otoño y invierno. Which would you prefer? Oh, English. English. I want you to remember that the next time you're working with somebody that English isn't their first language. It's not easy thinking in another language all day. You get headaches, you have nightmares. Let's have a little bit of empathy for that person. By the way, every gesture means something. Spring is a time of growth. Summer is hot. Autumn is also known as fall, and winter is cold. So we'll do it slowly together. 1, 2, ready, go. Spring, summer, autumn, and winter, winter, spring, summer, autumn, and winter, winter, spring, and summer. Autumn and winter are the seasons of the year. One more the kids and I wrote to teach ourselves the parts of plant. Everybody repeat after me and do the gestures. Flower, leaf, stem. Roots, there it is. Everybody give yourselves a hand. You may sit down. People often ask me, Danny, did you ever sing with your middle school and high school students? Can I give you a teaching tip? Yeah. I actually sang more often with my middle school and high school students. Why? Because it annoyed them. Man, this is stupid, man. Hate this song, man. You wore that jacket yesterday, man. High schoolers always get personal. Then the one day we don't sing, they're like, when we singing, man? So I've always thought the most successful people in life are always critical thinkers, and they reflect every single day. So I'm going to give you 23 seconds right now to do a tweet or tell with the people around you. Which of these 3 conditions of cognitive engagement are you going to start implementing immediately to improve your learning? Your 23 seconds begins now. So now let's talk about social engagement. You know, students and teachers need to collaborate in learning. I've always been a big believer in home ownership. Why? Homeowners take better care of their yards. Teachers, we need to give more ownership of our classrooms to our students. We don't give enough responsibility to students. You give them responsibility, they will respond. We underestimate kids every single day. It drives me nuts. And we need to give kids more respect. You know, I always taught in the hood in the inner city. A lot of my kids had some pretty tough home environments. I made sure my priority every single day was my classroom was a safe haven where kids felt loved, appreciated, respected. That's my top priority every single day with every single person I encounter. You know, I've also learned to develop a sense of community. I was in New Zealand, and in New Zealand, the native population are the Maori. And in Maori culture, when there's an argument in a family, what they do is they invite the tribal chief to their home. And before the tribal chief listens to the argument, they all have to hold hands and sing together for 15 minutes. And they find typically after 15 minutes they forgot what the original argument was about. We do the same thing in my culture, the Irish culture, it's just we usually drink while we sing. You know, we also have to actively encourage students to take risk. I mean, so here we go. The most controversial thing I used to do as a teacher, all my students got A's. I did it for 2 reasons. First reason was the first time I gave a student an F, he showed up black and blue to school the next day, and I swore to God I'd never be responsible for a child's beating again. Second of all, they want us to be research-based teachers. Okay, I've read the research. Show me some research that shows a relationship between a grade and what you learn. It doesn't exist, folks. I got A's in plenty of classes I did nothing for. And I got C's in classes. I worked my tail off and learned more in that class than all my other classes combined. There we go. There's my Baptist amen. There you go. You know, all you have to do is look at Congress as a perfect example of this concept. You don't have to be the sharpest tool in the shed to be a member of Congress. But there's something Congress does that the research does support. They show up every day. Look at the research. Kids that don't miss school do significantly better than kids that do miss school. My priority has never been grading, it's attendance. My job is to get butts in seats every single day. That's our job as teachers and parents, is get those butts in seats. The way you do that, you make them want to be there every single day. We got to make school a lot more engaging for kids. We need to make it more collaborative. You know, some kids like to work alone. Some kids like to work with partners. Some kids like to work in small groups, large groups. We got to mix it up throughout the day. We also have to remember to make use of higher level thinking and questioning skills. If the questions are simple, so is the thinking. All educators are taught Bloom's taxonomy. What a waste of time. I can't stand technical jargon. The important thing to remember from Bloom's taxonomy, the concept They actually teach it on Sesame Street. They have this game that goes, 3 of these things go together. 3 of these things look kind of the same. But one of these things is not like the others. Now it's time to play my game. It's time to play my game. Which one's not like the others? Yeah, I have lots of adults say shoe. I've had plenty of kids say orange. Should I say that's wrong? What should I ask? Why? Great question. I have little kids that say, because oranges grow naturally. Actually, if you think about it, the kid is thinking at a much higher level than us adults. All we looked at was the color. Urgh. Kids and adults think differently. I've known this ever since I was a kid. When I was in kindergarten, Sister Rosanna asked us if we all wanted to go to heaven. All of us raised our hands except for Hector. She's like, you don't want to go to heaven, Hector? He's like, oh, I thought you were talking about today. He's right. He's just looking at her question from a totally different point of view. You have to understand all of us see the world in totally different ways. You don't have to see the world in my way, but we should always consider how other people see the world. So the first condition is always collaboration. Learning is most effective when it's fun. Thomas Edison said, I never worked a day in my life. It was all fun. To learn it, though, you got to do it. Teddy Roosevelt said that the credit belongs to the person that's in the arena. Anybody can gripe. What we need are problem solvers, people that are part of the solution. 80% of learning difficulties are related to stress. Remove the stress, you remove the difficulties. I got to tell you, when I first started teaching elementary school, I was a complete failure because I started off as a high school teacher. I was trying to teach my little ones the same way I taught my older ones. I wore my suit every day. I addressed them as ladies and gentlemen. Please turn to page 38 in your textbooks. They looked at me like, what's a book? I was bombing for 3 weeks, man, every day. I'm like, what do I do? And finally I learned one day, la, 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 la. Stop taking yourself so dang seriously, Danny, because I ain't all that, and neither are you. And if you think you're all that, teach kindergarten for 1 week. They'll set you straight. I'll be like, Loretta, question. She's like, Miss Brassell, when are you going to trim your nose hair? This afternoon. Thanks for bringing that to my attention, Loretta. I ain't all that. Children learn best when they're helped to discover the underlying principles for themselves. You can't get those kids learning if you keep them in their seats all day. You got to stand up. Everybody stand up right now. I'm going to burn 6 calories. Yeah, get off your butt, man. I'm a big believer in yoga. The human brain loves oxygen. So everybody take a deep breath in. Take a deep breath out. Actually, proper yoga technique, you're supposed to exhale through your nose. I have found that this is a very bad idea with young children. All right. Everybody, clasp your hands together. Which thumb is on top? I don't know if you know this, but we can tell a whole lot about you just by that. If your left thumb is on top, you rely on logic and reason. You're most confident when your decisions are based on real world information. Now, if your right thumb's on top, you trust your intuition. You're most confident when your gut says you're doing the right thing. Facts, schmacks. Now, do you think you have thin thumbs or thick thumbs? We can tell a whole lot about you just by that. If you think you have thin thumbs, you're most confident hanging with a few close friends. You like parties where everyone can fit together in the same elevator. Now, if you think you have thick thumbs, you're just as confident in large groups as one-on-one. You like parties where everyone can fit together in the same stadium. Now, do you think your thumbs are short or long? We can tell a whole lot about you just by that. If you think you have short thumbs, you work confidently and quickly. You're always the first one to turn in a math test. And if you think you have long thumbs, you work slowly and carefully, yet you never seem to lose a thumb war. All right, everybody sit down. Plop your hands on your lap, palm side down. Where does your left thumb land? Is it like an L? Is it at a 45-degree angle? Or is it touching your other fingers? We can tell a whole lot about you just by that. If it's like an L, you are super confident and like to be in charge. Some people call you bossy. You should have them fired. If it's at a 45-degree angle, you're medium confident. You care what people think about you, but you're not willing to actually change or do anything about it. And if it's touching your fingers, you might feel pretty unconfident now, like you want to hide from the world. But remember this, you're someone wonderful. So the second condition that we have to consider when we're talking about social engagement is what are we doing to get people to participate? And then that leads to the third relationship that we have to consider, which is reflection. Repetition is not a bad thing. You know, how many of you have kids of your own? Yeah, any of you that's a parent, when your child was young, they brought you the same book to read every single night. Why? The kid is memorizing that book. I mean, my oldest daughter, Kate, she used to always make me read this book called Balto, about this stupid wolf dog in Alaska. A lot of people are like, I like Balto. I'm like, yeah, read it 875 times. We'll see how much you like Balto. Every night she's like, what's going to happen next? I'm like, I don't know. But this is our job as teachers and coaches, as parents, is to build the confidence of our students. You know, we also have to understand to ensure lessons are developmentally appropriate. I learned long ago, if I have a room full of people nodding in agreement with everything I'm saying, they have no idea what I'm talking about. I did the same thing when I lived in Spain. People would speak to me for hours in Spanish. I'd be like, see. So the thing I always tell teachers is don't fall for the, does everybody understand? Trap. Because here's what students are likely to do. Doesn't mean they understand diddly squat. This next concept is very important for educators. You need to tier activities to provide challenge. You know, to me, a good classroom should function the way a good high school athletics program functions. A good high school athletics program has a varsity team, a junior varsity team, and a freshman team. Not every kid's ready to play varsity, but every kid gets to play the game. You can teach any kid anything. Some kids hit the standard here, some kids hit it here, and then that's my opportunities to help this kid ascend to a higher level. But you can teach anything. I've seen that time and time again. You also have to offer our students plenty of time for reflection and goal setting. When I was in college, I had a fraternity brother, Francisco, and he came up to me one day. He's like, man, Danny, I studied 2 whole days for that final exam, and I got an F on it. I looked at him like, oh, man, I don't have to study a single minute, and I can get an F on an exam. He didn't like that response. But what I was encouraging him to do is change your strategy, dude. Don't study with the TV on while you're talking on the phone. Now, some people, that helps them. You got to figure out what kind of person you are. You got to vary your strategies. Drives me nuts. You have some big shot expert from out of town that says, oh, the only learning strategies that work for all students are the ones found in my books and CDs. That is such garbage. The only learning strategies I've seen that work for all students are the ones found in my books and CDs. So again, I've always thought the best, most successful people are reflective learners. So I want you to look at these 3 different conditions for social engagement. I'm going to give you 23 seconds to do a tweet or tell with the people around you. Which of these are you going to make a priority when you leave this room today? Your 23 seconds begins now. So let's wrap up with emotional engagement. Carol Ann Tomlinson said, if a student has a spark but still a fire, a curiosity about a topic, learning is more likely for that student. Too many kids look at school today like it's prison. What is going on in America? I mean, my kindergartners used to go to bed with their backpacks on. My 8th graders were thinking of ways to get sick. What happened in those 8 years to get that kid to hate school so much? I mean, if I'm doing my job, my students should be banging on my door at 5 in the morning. They're so excited to get in there, and they should be in tears when they hear that final bell ring at the end of the day. It was Carl Jung who said, if there's anything we wish to change in the child, we should first examine it and see whether it's not something that could be better changed in ourselves. Our job as parents and educators to open up those minds and plant seeds that foster a lifelong love of growth and learning. So Harvard actually did a study on this. An informal survey of elementary age students found they are most interested in multiple choice. Would you say A, conjugating verbs, B, balancing a complex chemical equation, C, the Pythagorean theorem, or D, dinosaurs and volcanoes? What do you think? Would you like to know my answer? My answer is, it depends. A good teacher could make any of these lessons interesting. And a bad teacher could make dinosaurs and volcanoes boring. My 9th grade science teacher, Mrs. Newman, she could make dinosaurs and volcanoes boring because the woman never changed the tone of her voice. Hello, class, and welcome to the exciting world of life science. The school is burning down as I speak. I have a large laceration above my left eyebrow. I'm slowly bleeding to death. Your presentation matters. I've seen teachers take a totally cool book, Time to Read Aloud, again, Where the Wild Things Are by Maurice Sendak. That sounds more depressing than a James Taylor song. And I've seen teachers take the telephone book, Domino's Pizza 555-8787. Your enthusiasm is contagious. And so the first action we all have to do is what are we doing to attract our interest and the interest of our students? I used to always tell my faculty, I'm looking for thermostats, not thermometers. What's the difference? Thermometers take the temperature. Thermostats set the temperature. What kind of climate are we creating every single day to get people excited about learning? Raise your hand if you've ever had one of those days. Raise your hand if you ever want to get pumped up. Raise your hand if you ever felt overwhelmed. So again, that's why I'm giving all of you a copy of the book, Read, Lead, and Succeed, because I can get all of you motivated today, but motivation is a lot like bathing. It's temporary. That's why we always suggest that you do it regularly. So this is a book to put positive thoughts in your heads all the time. Why do I do that? Good leaders make a difference. You all are my heroes. You all deserve our respect. You all deserve to be treated like royalty. Harvard did a study. They found that 1 out of every 3 Americans is either extremely beautiful or extraordinarily handsome. So I want you to take a moment right now. Look at the person to your left. Now look at the person to your right. And if it's neither of those 2 people, well, there you go. You are special and we need you. Don't ever forget it. My wife is from Singapore and she has a cousin who's a Buddhist monk that works for the Dalai Lama. So whenever the Dalai Lama comes to Los Angeles to speak, we always get to watch him. And if you ever have a chance to watch the Dalai Lama speak, he's an incredible speaker. He always starts his presentations the same way. He looks at the audience, he smiles, and he asks, have you been kind today? It's a great question. A lot of Americans are starting to lose their manners. People in this country need to learn how to be able to disagree with one another without being disagreeable to one another. You know, it was Clifton Fadiman said, there's no shortage of smarter people. The real shortage is in better people. I became an educator because I wanted to create better people. Can I give you a teaching tip? Got this idea from my pastor. It's the 5-penny trick. I used to give my students 5 pennies to start the day with 5 pennies in their right-hand pocket. Every time they said something nice to a classmate, they would put a penny in their left-hand pocket. At the end of class, at the end of the day, we'd go around the classroom to see who had 5 pennies in their left-hand pocket. Practice random acts of kindness. It becomes a habit. People always ask me what makes a great teacher. There are 2 qualities I've always seen in great teachers. Great teachers have lots of patience. How many of you have ever taught something to a kid on Monday afternoon, they show up Tuesday morning like they're from outer space? So you teach it again. And you teach it again. And you teach it again. And great teachers have lots of empathy. It's really easy for us folks. We already know how to do it. It's the getting to know how to do it. That's the trick. So everybody turn to the attractive person beside you and repeat after me. Thanks for all that you do. You look like a leader to me. So the second action I think all of us have to adjust is our attitude, and that leads to the third, which is the most important, is finding our purpose when we're engaging ourselves. William Feather once said, success seems to be largely a matter of hanging on after others have let go. Remember, the mediocre leader tells, the good leader explains, but the superior leader demonstrates. One of my favorite movies of all time is Rocky. My favorite scene in that movie is the night before Rocky has to fight Apollo Creed. He's sitting in bed with Adrian. He's like, Adrian, I'm going to lose tomorrow. But I don't care if I lose. I just want to go the distance. I want to go the distance with the champ. And he winds up going, he loses, but he went the distance. Not many people have that drive to go the distance. Any of you ever see the movie Grease? It's been around for a while. In the movie, John Travolta plays a guy named Danny. And Danny has the hots for Sandy, played by Olivia Newton-John. And Danny finds out that Sandy likes jocks. And so John Travolta goes to Sid Caesar, who just happens to coach every single sport at this high school. He tries out for the baseball team, he stinks. Tries out for the basketball team, he stinks. Tries out for wrestling, he stinks. Eventually, he tries out for track and field. And not only is he good, he's good enough to earn his varsity letter. Wow. What an amazing teacher. He never gave up on that kid. He found something that kid was good at. I guarantee you, all of you are good at something. It's my job as a teacher. It's my responsibility to find that in you and let it shine every single day. One of my favorite corporate speakers is a guy by the name of Ken Blanchard. You ever have a chance to watch Ken? He's incredible. He was speaking to a grocery store chain, all 10,000 employees, from the baggers all the way up to the CEO. He challenged his audience. He said, what are you doing to leave your fingerprint on your job so people remember you long after you have gone? He got everybody pumped because he's a great speaker. Well, one of the people in the audience was an 18-year-old bagger named Johnny. Johnny had Down syndrome. Johnny went home all pumped up. How am I going to leave my fingerprint on my job? So that night, he sat at his computer. He typed up every single joke and funny saying he'd ever heard. He printed them out on his printer. The next day, he cut out all the things he'd printed out. The next day, every time he bagged a bag of groceries, he put one of his jokes inside the bag of groceries. 1 week later, fast forward a week, grocery store managers walking the floor. 4 lines are open, 3 of them are empty, and there's 20 women in 1 line. He's like, excuse me, ladies, there's 3 other lines open. And the women look at him like, yeah, but this is Johnny's line. I thought that was great, but that wasn't the best part of the story. Floral department notices what Johnny's doing. So floral department starts greeting every single elderly woman as she walks in the door with a complimentary flower. If I was a woman, I'd be like, who you calling elderly? But wait a sec. Meat department sees what the floral department's doing, so meat department starts putting Mickey Mouse stickers in every package of meat that they sell. Again, I ain't going to buy meat with a rat sticker on it, but that was the best part of the story. In 1 month's time, this tiny grocery store in Missouri was the #1 grocery store by volume in the United States. And it all started with Johnny. I look at my students every single day. I say every great movement in history started with one. And quite often, it's a child who shall lead them. I'm going to leave you today with a couple of things I used to always end my classes with my students. I always gave them a math equation. Frogs on a log. 5 frogs are on a log. One decides to hop off. How many frogs are left, class? No. The answer is 5. Deciding to hop off the log and actually hopping off the log are 2 totally different things. I used to always tell my students as they walked out the door, education is valuable, but it's execution that is priceless. Knowledge ain't power. Only applied knowledge is power. Knowing what the right thing to do and actually doing the right thing are 2 totally different things. I encourage you all to do the right thing. Translation, let's all bring the joy back into education. Thanks for all that you do, and I think we're doing question and answer right now. We're doing a question and answer. Etta, thank you.
出れた飛ばすもう一回もう一回 Hop, 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 hop. 乗れムーバー